Hey everyone, Scott here to discuss A League of Their Own, starring Tom Hanks, Gina Davis, Madonna, Lori Petty, John Lovitz, David Strathairn, Gary Marshall, and Bill Pullman, directed by Penny Marshall. Now, I remember seeing this a long time ago, but don't remember too much about it. But I did watch it again recently. Not recent. Well, yeah, I watched this recently for this review, but I mean, I watched it right after I had owned the 4K Blu-ray on this thing with the Columbia Classics. And what do I think of it? Let's get into it. We open with an elder Dottie Hinson, who was a baseball player back in the day, as she goes to a museum and a reunion with the girls back in the day, and her daughter Margaret forces her to go for her own good and sees her grandchildren, Jeremy and Bobby, playing basketball as she sees Bobby beating Jeremy at the game and goes on her way to the museum slash reunion with her old baseball friends at Doubleday Stadium. And I like this opener as it works for the setup of this movie. We flash back to spring of 1943 in a town in Oregon called Williamton, as Dottie, played by Gina Davis, and her sister Kit Keller, played by Lori Petty, play baseball, and Kit doesn't hit a baseball high one. But there's one pitch left, and Dottie hits a home run and wins the game and catches the eye of a manager, Ernie Capadino, played by John Lovitz, who will follow them home as Ernie approaches them to play some professional baseball in Chicago. While milking the cows at their barn, Dottie reluctantly goes as long as Kit is with her. And I really like and connect with these two characters. And I believe they're stepsisters. And they're completely relatable, while Ernie seems to be kind of evil, but luckily the audience won't see him as much as this segment. Dottie and Kit go on a train to the first Fort Collins, Colorado, and we meet Marla Hooch, as she can play quite well and hit the ball, but Ernie acts like a jerk about her looks, and Dottie and Kit tells him to let her play with them, and her father talks him into letting her play the game, as does Dottie and Kit, and she does hit the ball tough, I will admit, and she's another relatable character in my eyes. They head to Chicago and go to practice for professional baseball tryouts, and it goes quite well for them as we meet May Morabito, played by Madonna, or Mortabito, excuse me, Mortabito, played by Madonna, and Doris Murphy, played by Rosie O'Donnell, who are the toughest people in the team that will be on their side of the game based on a judge of baseball named Walter Harvey, played by Gary Marshall, and the cinematography is really good as this movie is shot great, in my opinion. Dottie, Kit, Marla, May, and Doris are on the same team together, while one lady named Shirley Baker can't read on the board is on the same team as them, and they show the uniform to them as Ira Lowenstein, played by David Strathairn, does the pep talk, and we see them act like ladies as I connect with these women as ball players and as their characters. We meet their coach, Jimmy Dugan, played by Tom Hanks, as he was retired but is offered the job by Walter as long as Jimmy doesn't have alcohol in him, while he was a ball player and was fired at one point, and he shows up on the first day of the coaching job, all drunk, takes a leak in front of the ladies, which feels weird and inappropriate for a PG rated film. Yes, this is a PG rated movie. I should have warned you guys about that. At first, he comes off jerkish until eventually he becomes the coach they asked for, but for now, he doesn't want to be there for them as it was just a job while he sleeps during the game, and there's not too many people there while the crowd laughs at them until they play their first game, and it starts off with the heckler heckling them while Ellen Sue Gotlander throws a ball at the heckler, and they play as a team and win their first game thanks to Dottie, and as Jimmy was asleep the whole time, and Ira has a chat with him as he wasn't sure whether he was drunk or not, and spits on Ira's shoe, and I'm liking them as a team, and the fact they're becoming very good friends as I believed it in my mind. Evelyn Gardner meets Jimmy, talks with him about having her son around the team, and they're on the bus as the boy blocks Lou the driver's eyes, and Lou the driver quits on them, and the players have a cigarette break. And after Jimmy kissing Miss Cuthbert and tells everybody else to get back on the bus, and he drives the bus, and he says to Miss Cuthbert, "I loved you in The Wizard of Oz, by the way," which really made me laugh, as the dialogue was written solidly like the iconic line Tom Hanks will say later in the film, which will turn out to be a classic line. The team goes to a bar to dance their booties off, while Miss Cuthbert vomits her stomach off, and someone almost catches them, while Marla sings her heart out, and they go to church to confess, and the bar scene was amusing. While what was the point of the church scene, I wonder? May goes to third base after hitting the ball with the bat, and Marla batters up while Jimmy and Dottie battle on who tells Marla what to do, and he wins the battle, and he hits a home run, and May teaches Shirley to read while Doris talks briefly about her husband. And we move on to another game as Jimmy yells at Evelyn, and she cries about it. And Jimmy says this iconic line that I brought up earlier in the movie, "There's no crying in baseball." And the referee kicks Jimmy off the game, and he calms himself down, and the line, "There's no crying in baseball," which is the best and classic line in this whole movie, and the characters really grow on me. Ira tells Dottie the New York Times wants to interview her, and the team is not doing very well as their team might get cut down while they play the game, and Dottie catches it by doing the splits, and they go to church and keep playing the game quite well, by the way, as Jimmy learns the names of each player thanks to Dottie, and Marla gets married to a man she met at the bar named Nelson and can't play the game for the rest of the season, as Jimmy gives Dottie a mouth guard, while she learns how to spit thanks to Jimmy. And I feel the connection as it works, and it works great, and director Penny Marshall does a fantastic job at making the audience connect with them as teammates. Jimmy and Dottie connect by showing him a photo of her husband, Bob, played by Bill Pullman, and they talk about their own lives, and he tells her husband how good she is, and well, Jimmy tells her to tell him how good she is at the game, while Kit gets her nails painted, and they play the next game as Kit has spaghetti arms, and Dottie tells her as well as Jimmy Kit is done with the current game and sends Calhoun, I don't know, something like that, I forget, Calhoun, whatever, I'm not going to say anymore, into the field. And when the game is over, Walter is thinking they should continue to play the game while Kit and Doris have a fight in the middle of the field, and Jimmy puts Kit in the shower to cool off, and while still upset, Kit is upset with Dottie to the point she wants to go home, while she tells Ira she wants to be traded to a different team by the next day. And Kit gets traded to a different team and is pissed off at Dottie, and they have an argument about it, and the movie is going down to somewhere from early 9 to late 8 as far as my rating goes, because of the drama in these scenes, and the movie is a little bit long. Jimmy gives the ladies a pep talk about playing hard for the World Series until Betty's husband dies from the war, and they play the game, and Donnie cries about Bob, and Bob shows up himself to Dottie crippled and is still alive and was discharged from the war. And remember, I think this was World War II or something like that, I forget, but in these scenes was a little depressing, as Dottie won't be playing for the World Series as she drives home with Bob, which also made me a bit sad. The girls make it to the World Series without Dottie, while Kit's team is playing against the main team of the movie, I forget. And Jimmy prays for the game to be their best yet, and something inappropriate that I won't say for a PG-rated film. And as the game begins, and Dottie is in it, as it turns out, while Jimmy believes they're going to win, while Evelyn's kid says, "You're gonna lose," until he throws a glove at him, and Evelyn is playing kind of poorly, while Jimmy doesn't lose his temper during the game, and May hits the ball as Kit punches, or no, not punches, pitches, and isn't making anyone miss the ball, but does get two people out, and Kit pitches to Dottie and almost hits Kit, and, and gets May and Doris score some points, and we get a few girls on the opposite team until Kit is up to bat, and Dottie advises to Ellen Sue to throw some high fastballs to get Kit out of and she doesn't hit it twice, but the third time's the charm. Kit hits the ball while on a high fastball and hits a home run, and as it turns out, Kit is safe because Dottie drops the ball and Kit's team wins the game. And they change clothes, and Dottie bumps into Kit after she signs autographs for a couple of little girls. And they act like sisters again, and Dottie tells Kit that to play some more ball, while Dottie goes home with Bob, and Jimmy is introduced to Bob, and we go back to Dottie's elderly years and reunites with the girls from back in the day, and they go to the museum and sees Jimmy's dead since 1987, and they play a little ball, and Dottie reunites with Kit, and the climax was absolutely beautiful, but at the same time, not as uplifting as I hoped, but still, Dottie and Kit get to be sisters again, and to me, it was beautiful at the end of the day. Now it's time for my rating. I'll give this movie a 8.6 out of 10. I really like the characters, as their acting in this is well done, and the cinematography is great to look at, and the shots are well done, as this movie is well made. The dialogue is well written, particularly the line, "There's no crying in baseball," which has got to be a classic and best line in the whole movie, in my opinion, as director Penny Marshall does a fantastic job at making the audience connect with each character from start to finish. There were times the movie was a little bit too long, as maybe 5 minutes could have been in the editing room floor, but I still really liked the movie for what it was, and this is a solid recommendation if you're a baseball fan and want to see a good sports movie like I do, and take it from someone that did play a little baseball in Little League when I was younger, I'll say. So I'd like to thank you guys for joining me, and next time I will be back with Jerry Maguire, and until then, swing, bada 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 bada, swing.